Welcome to Two Bees in a Pod. I am Bilola.
And I am B. Leonga, and this is a podcast about immigrant experiences in the US, sharing our perspectives on various topics,
Including straddling cultures, fitting in, staying connected, learning and unlearning the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Welcome to this week's episode. I've been on a break. I don't know if the audience has noticed, but I'm back and we're going to be talking about what has been going on around the world. We are constantly in unprecedented times and we need a break. We just need like 1 or 2 weeks of precedented times because the events are just too much. So we're going to be talking about events in the US and around the world. But as usual, our icebreaker for today is, what is a far out conspiracy theory that you believe in?
I looked at this earlier and I kept thinking, I feel like I abandoned conspiracy theories a very long time ago. So I cannot think, I can only remember one, and I don't know if, I wouldn't say I believe it, but at the time it was presented to me, it seemed really credible. In college, they showed us a video about the 9/11 attacks, and it was this well-produced thing, but the gist of it was that the owner of the building took out an insurance policy on the building before like maybe a month or so before the attacks. And so they stood to benefit from the chaos. I don't know that I believe it, but at the time I was like, so maybe that's my wildest one.
I've seen that, and I think I know that production you're talking about, where they were saying like the way the building collapsed, like they had put like some kind of detonation device in the bottom of the building. That's the one that I saw.
I don't know, but they showed this to me in a class in college, which
Not a class.
Yes, it was in my communications class. I guess it was effective.
What was the goal of the exercise to make you guys like debate, or
do you want me to come and age myself here so that I'll be like, look, this was a long time ago. I have no idea why. I just remember it was in my communications class.
Yeah, no, I saw, if it was not the one that you watched, I definitely saw something similar. It was quite convincing, but I've seen rebuttals over the years. But yeah, I'm with you. At the time, I believed it too. I believe because it was presented in a way that,
so I felt for it then.
So mine, which I really believe this, right? Have you heard of the Mandela effect?
I've seen it on TikTok, but I can't define it.
So it is this phenomenon where a large group of people have a shared memory, which is false, right? So there are certain things, like for example, in Monopoly, the Monopoly man, right? Mm-hmm. Does he, when you picture him, does he have a monocle?
Packaging, I feel like he does.
He doesn't. But like you and me, like there are like thousands and thousands of people who like swear that the Monopoly man had a monocle, but he never did. Then there are other things like Curious George. Curious George apparently does not have a tail, but a lot of people, when you picture him, you picture a tail.
I mean, he's a monkey now.
Exactly. But he doesn't have a tail, apparently. Mickey Mouse supposedly has a tail, which I
think I've seen Mickey Mouse's tail.
Anyway,
but they always show Mickey's always shown from the front, rarely from the back.
Yeah, so. True. And then the brand fruit of
the clothing.
Yeah, like the underwear / clothing. So a lot of people believe that their logo has or used to have a cornucopia, which is like that kind of fruits basket collection thing. It doesn't.
No.
I'm with you on that one. And this is one that went viral on TikTok because the brand was actually arguing with people like, no, they have never had a cornucopia in their logo.
They're gaslighting us. Because as soon as you said fruit of the loom, I'm thinking, I imagine a commercial that had a grape, a banana, and apple something. Nah,
Is the actual, hold on, let me, yeah, so the cornucopia is like that little basket thingy, and then the fruit's coming out of it.
Yeah.
Allegedly, it's not. Let me Google it now as we're talking. They never had that. Yeah, they just have. So they have the fruit, but it's not like with the cornucopia. It's just the fruit. Anyway, so there's like dozens of examples like that, and the rational, logical, scientific explanation is that our memories our brains play tricks on us, right? Like even though a lot of people may seem to have these shared memories, like another example is a movie called Shazam, which Sinbad starred in. And I remember that movie, but apparently there was never such a movie in the. Okay, so yeah, it's things like that. And yeah, again, the scientific explanation is that something happened to your lighting, but we move. Keep it pushing. But yeah, so it's apparently just a shared false memory. I believe that we are living in like there are parallel universes, right, where small things are different or large things are different, right, in each, what I want to call it, a timeline or a universe. And I think that either people are kind of jumping between or the lines are getting crossed. That's why we have these memories where we're remembering something. We're remembering some. Audience, just ignore the last antics if you're watching this on video. Yeah, so I believe that, like parallel universes are intertwining, and that's why we have these, memories, but they're actually from a different timeline. Other people believe that we're in a simulation and the controllers of the simulation are just changing small things to mess with us, which I could see that as well.
Yeah, I can see. But I'm really struggling with the collective memory because why would all of the random people, why would we all think that this
That's
thing
the
existed
thing.
the way that it did not? I don't know. That is very interesting. But
Yeah.
it could also be, I can see that because I watched a video today. It was two guys on a podcast, and I guess they're friends. And it's a black guy and a non-black guy, and he says, black people typically don't adopt white children, or something like black people don't adopt white children, or I've never seen a black person. And his friend, like, he says it over and over, and his friend keeps saying, but Madonna adopted a black child. And it's almost like his brain is just
Right. His brain
he's
is
here,
switching.
it's black and white, and he's just switching it. And his friend had to spell it out before it was like, but it was like, he's like, what am I saying wrong? Because the friend kept repeating it over and over. And it was just like, what is going on here? Is it a thing that you don't think about, or like your brain is just like auto-correcting what it thinks it should be?
Yeah, my brain does that. My brain does that. Unfortunately, too often, but it does. But yeah, I know what you mean. So, I mean, anyway, that's my own kind of conspiracy theory. Either we're in a simulation and the controllers are just switching things, or
No, where I am in the simulation. I truly believe in the simulation. Like the last couple of weeks years. Yes, it's been a long time where it's just felt like people should let me out of here. Don't do. I'm tired.
Listen, The Sims, making it a little bit too interesting. Like we need to get back to boring times.
Listen, one serving of Precedented times is all I'm asking for. Just one serving. Like, can we breathe? And especially as a millennial, like it's just been back to back. When was the last time we had peace?
Never.
I feel like maybe 99, maybe 98. Because in 99, conspiracy theory, they told me the world was coming to an end in 2000. So I probably spent half of 99 stressed. And I was very shocked when I woke up on the morning of January 1st, 2000, and, we're still here. And then we went from that to 9/11 to the war in Iraq.
All the wars.
And then we went to college. And at some point we graduated.
2008.
It's the collapse, recession. It's just been back to back hits. Back to back. Like, where's Precedented times?
Listen.
I just want a serving of Precedented times. That's all I'm asking for from the universe right now.
Well, speaking of, so has happened, right? I don't even know. I'll try to keep them in chronological order, but so the US presidential shenanigans, right? At this point, it's shenanigans. It's not even like the race, it's not even the elections, it's just chaos. So there was an alleged assassination attempt former President Donald Trump at a rally. And I want to be very careful with my words because, again, I worked very hard for that American passport. I don't want them to come and take it from me. But something's not.
Something right in the water.
The math ain't nothing with
listen, in this country where people can pull up information in like 0.5 seconds, we are not getting anything. Nothing. I haven't even seen a picture of this person. I don't know nothing about this person, their age, creed. Not much is out there. How is it that we know in a country where they ship the president's car when the president is traveling? Former presidents have lifetime secret service. I mean, we did know that the Secret Service was compromised after January 6th, but it's just, people saw nothing. Nothing at all. They told us that 9/11 happened because the different arms were not communicating, FBI, CIA, whatever. And then in this year, 2024, people are still doing that. We're supposed to believe that there were no snipers, nothing, they didn't sweep. Like, is this 1963?
There were snipers across on a roof across from where that shooter was.
And then giving Justice Smollett.
It's giving. Again, I want to be very careful.
Because somebody did lose their life. And not the shooter. I think somebody else there passed away, which is really tragic. But the math ain't matting.
It ain't. It's a little bit too
perfect.
It's a little bit too convenient for Mr. Trump.
But it's just like they're not giving us much. This is a country where they want to kick the ball. They'll tell us that this is the first time that somebody has kicked the ball at that speed. Like, you just want to watch football. Americans will not leave you with stats and data.
Listen, my God.
Everything there's it. And then this one, all of a sudden, we don't have the speed. We don't know what kind of shell casing. We have not seen the manufacturer. Nope, nothing.
Yeah, I caught a few minutes of it live on TikTok where I don't know who was interrogating the FBI about their investigation. They're talking about he used a drone and they don't have recordings from the drone. They're trying to re-simulate the flight path of the drone and what he may have seen when he was flying it. I'm like, you people, something.
Like I said, from January 6th of 2021 when they deleted text messages and we've never seen them again. And it's just,
Anyway, but I will say this, and I guess they have to do it. That's their job. Like, President Joe Biden, sent out his regrets, his sympathies. He called Donald Trump. Barack Obama put out a message. Everybody was putting out a message of sympathies. I just want to remind people, and I'm not a fan of Nancy Pelosi, but somebody either broke into her house or attempted to break into her house and
they attacked her husband, and they did not keep the same energy because that man was actually hurt.
And you know what, Donald Trump, he made a joke about that incident, right? He is always inciting violence, either explicitly or implicitly. He's pro-gun, all of these things. I just want to say that the quote that came to my mind when I heard about this thing, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. So he should not start crying, okay? You like all these pro-gun people, allow them to come to your rallies. Everybody should come with their AK inside your rally since you're so pro-gun.
I just going to say I cannot say the first thing that I said because I don't want to apply for a visa again.
Listen, I said something.
I'm trying to keep this passport, so thoughts and prayers. Thoughts and vibes, actually.
Soros. His ear will be okay.
Soros prayers. Okay.
The ear will be okay. Okay, so then after that, I don't know how long after that, it was shortly after.
It was Saturday.
Joe Biden had COVID.
No, it was Saturday. So I think that thing happened. It happened over a weekend, either Saturday or Sunday. And then Gyajo announced that he had COVID maybe like Thursday. When like last week they were ramping up the since I didn't watch the debates, unfortunately I had guests that evening, but from the debate people started calling for him to drop out. And he went on like the offensive and he gave interviews which I thought they were good, but people those who didn't, the people were playing 5D chess because now it seems like while others were playing 5D chess, Gyajo was playing drafts. And to me, he came out on top because what I learned in the last week is I don't have the stamina that it takes to be in office. Because I guess people have to backstab you and you have to smile in their face and be gracious about it. Me, Eddie Bob, bro. Listen, my takeaway from the first half of 2024 is hold on to your pettiness. All this kumbaya, hold hands, no. I don't like you, I don't like you. I don't even owe you an explanation, and we don't gotta play nice. The end.
So I didn't see the interviews that you're talking about. I mean, I've said on this show before on the record, way back when last year, even that I thought Joe Biden was too old. So I mean that obviously hasn't changed. But I'm gonna ask you this. What did you think when he called President Zelensky President Putin?
Nothing.
You didn't think anything?
No, because
You didn't question his faculties.
No, because I've had the sweats when I want to talk sometimes, and that man is a stutterer. Like he be
But you
putting
still
on
gotta call the opposite name.
what's his opponents called Nancy Pelosi, Nikki Haley, and makes those gas every other day. But it's just like that.
I think he's too old too, and too dumb on top of that. But
listen, we are not past November.
Anyway, so I wasn't really, because I was out in Europe living my best life, I was not really paying attention to which Democrats specifically were calling for him to step down. I did see that open letter that George Clooney wrote, though.
First of all, that he needs to bring his money. That's all I want from him. Close your mouth and bring your money. Like, you had a lot to say. Open your purse and drop those coins ASAP. Don't come near the campaign. Nobody wants, stay. You don't even go here. Like, yes, you have a passport. You live in Lake Como and in England. So why are you out here, like, writing and Dunkirk? Anyways, here's the way that I saw this thing happening. Like, it started as a little whisper over the last couple, like after the debate. And then last week they ramped it up. And what was really crazy about the ramp up was like the little leaks, which is like, it was a private meeting. Yeah, here we are. If it was private, why are we in it? So it was like private meeting with President Obama, private meeting with Nancy Pelosi, private meeting. It was like which congressmen were calling. I think the senator from Montana said something, and all these people. But the tone, the way they were going about it, right, was where, because it's like, this is a country that has a succession plan. My big thing was just, if you say that this man is not fit to be president, to run for office, that means that he's not fit to be president now. If that's what you're going by. But you're all calling for it, and the big consensus was they were saying he should step down. They did not have a path forward next. So you're just using vibes. And that was a terrifying part to me.
You don't think they had somebody in mind when they were doing that?
They did not have one person, because it was not a united front, right? Everybody is calling for step down and probably had their own person. But it was not a united front of like, we are asking for you to step down. And there's his vice president who was on his ticket, who should be the normal person, like if they were unified and they had a path. But the messaging coming out was very shoddy, and it was like they were going to come to Chicago for the convention and it was going to be a bloodbath. There's no time for that. Like, RNC had their convention. DNC convention is not for another week or so. Like, there was no time for all this infighting. But the thing that was really obvious, it looked like they were going to pass over the vice president, and people were not going to go for that, because it's like, it's one thing to pressure this man to step down, but when because they were hinting, leaks, we heard that this, and then this tech bros also got into the mix. Actually, no, the pod bros Pod Bros, aka a lot of the former Obama campaign staff and like Obama circle. John Favreau was a speechwriter, Ben Rhodes, a bunch, David Axelrod, a bunch of them were like throwing innuendos, like, well, let's run. They're now throwing in like, oh, we should go with this person and this person. The vice president is right.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I will ride with Joe Biden, because one, the timing, like now everybody's using hindsight, because all of last week during the RNC, they were doing whatever they were doing, and people were like, oh, he should, steal their thunder and announce during the RNC. But it's like people talk about the timing. I don't know, but I agree with it, right? That he announced on Sunday afternoon after the Sunday morning shows. So they had already talked about, everybody has gone full steam about the Republican convention. They don't talked about that. The RNC was over, so they spent their whole convention talking about Sleepy Joe and everything and attacking him and running all those ads. And then Sunday afternoon, when the journalists were taking a break, he came with like boom bam. There was not enough time for the people who would have been calling the media, because the media had been particularly vicious in like their one-sided attack of him. Because people said, oh, he was being defensive, but he had an interview with Lester Holt where he was like, but this person told this many lies. Have you questioned them? And they were trying to like change the topic. So it did not give anybody time to scramble. I think with the Black women getting on a call that night, they were like, this Zoom call where there were like 44,000 Black women on
Yeah.
that Zoom. I found out today the CEO of Zoom is a Black woman. So they made a call. So, oh girl.
Hello.
Like, and you've seen how the support came from the grassroots. But people were already, and I think it's because people were pissed. The language and the positioning that they were going with, they were trying to pass her.
Well, so let me ask you this, because I'm not super familiar with how the next steps, right? So at the convention, is there still an opportunity for her to be challenged, or it's kind of a given at this point? And by her, we're talking about Kamala Harris, for anybody who's not caught up.
I think there's always room for a challenge. But the first thing that she did when President Biden stepped down and endorsed her, because yesterday the Speaker of the House, Hakeem Jeffries, and Chuck Schumer came and said they were endorsing her, but she had told them to hold off on the endorsement because she wanted the grassroots support first. And so I think the first thing that she did was to make sure that she had enough delegates where any challenges, she has secured the majority where the nomination is hers. But people could still try, but at this point, it's almost futile, because the people all the names that we're throwing in as suggestions for who would step in should President Biden step down, they've all endorsed her. So unless somebody comes from way left field and has been doing some, calling in favors, at this point, it's all but assumed, because I think as of this afternoon, it said she had 2,900 and something delegates, which I think is way over the number. I should check what the number she needs for is. She needs for the nomination. But they said she had 2,900 delegates committed to her this afternoon.
While you're looking at that, I just want to, like, a note for the listeners. We're recording this on Wednesday, July 24th, and it's going to air on Monday. I'm just saying this because, news moves so fast. So in case we're talking about things that kind of are stale, by the time you're listening to this, it's for that reason. Like, there's a bit of a lag. Yeah, this is airing on Monday the 29th. We're recording on the 24th. So who knows what will happen in the next few days. And you said, okay, that Sunday night, right? 44,000 Black women got on Zoom. They raised $1.5 million. The following day, I was on TikTok, and Black men, to give them their credit, on a rare occasion, to give them their credit, they also got on their Zoom the following night. And when I checked in, I didn't follow the whole thing, but it was about 30 minutes in, and they had raised $500,000. So I don't know if they passed the
they did.
1.5.
I can't remember. Yeah, but
the guys got on their Zoom too. That's the point I was trying to make. Yeah.
Yes, and the white women are getting on their Zoom
tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
The Hispanic women got on their Zoom yesterday. Listen, it's coming from the bottom, and I think that's the one thing that I appreciate from this process, because it looked like those at the top, Nancy Pelosi's, and I hate to break anybody's heart, but President Obama is not looking good right now.
What do you mean?
He was one of those where they're leaking the private conversation saying he was trying to get President Biden to step down and talked about an open process at the convention.
Oh, so he was not immediately
He hasn't
on
endorsed.
Harris?
He has not endorsed her, which they say he did not endorse President Biden until after the DNC convention in 2020. But I don't know. They say his reasoning is that he doesn't want to sway anybody. It's like it was a fight. It was not a peaceful. It wasn't a peaceful thing, right? Because they were leaking and they were everybody's coming out, because they will leak, then people have to come back to say, hey, that's not what I meant, right? They will say, oh, I was on a call with XYZ, and then people are coming like, hey, that's not what I said. What I meant was. So it's like they were intentionally leaking over and over these quote unquote private things. It was not a friendly, like I read an article where they said Nancy Pelosi said that she had given him time, and like if he had not stepped out by this week, she was going to go full nuclear on him. Ma'am, you're not even that young yourself.
First of all, Nancy Pelosi with her insider trading ass, she needs to like get out of there. I'm tired of these career politicians with their old asses. Like, I'm gonna be honest. I was very, very happy to hear the news that Joe Biden was stepping out. I said, finally.
See, but here's my thing. The reason I'm not happy, and the thing that I forgot to mention all of this, the Nancy Pelosi's, Adam Schiff, and a bunch of them, their issue was the donors, not the people that vote. And that's why, and it was like it looked like the donors wanted to pick their own candidates. Because across the aisle, it seems like with the RNC, the VP candidate for the Republican Party was handpicked by Elon Musk and Peter Thiel, who are like the Silicon Valley tech bros who, they just want to do whatever they want to do, no consequences. And so that I think that was what was most upsetting, because are you listening? We were having a conversation where there was an interview where voters said, hey, we're still standing with the president. And the reporter turns around to say, see, he's not popular. That's why he's going to lose. I think that is the bit that really has like gotten everybody fired up. Because in this whole thing, when they were saying step down, it was not only, oh, you're old, but it's like, you're scaring away our donors, or the donors, this person said they're not going to donate anymore if you don't step down. Whereas it's like, we are the ones voting. Somebody, I can't remember, one of these bros made a comment also about like, well, if they do this and that, somebody said, it seems like you're forgetting the base of this party, which is Black women. You're just going to completely disregard, because there were like 1,000 plus Black women who signed a letter last week in support of President Biden's re-election, and this person just like, forget those people, this is what they want. And I think that's the part that was really uncool, because if you're going to cosplay democracy, you're literally shouting, but the donors donors have one vote like everybody else.
So how do you feel about Kamala and her prospects?
It's hard to tell. I'm with her 100%, 100, like, I'm with her. But like somebody said, she's new. She was unexpected. They're still trying to find, which is not new. She's won Senate election. She won being as the VP on the ticket. She won the race to being attorney. So she's not new to elections, and she's not new on the national level. But she's still a new shiny object but in the eyes of the situation. So there's hype now, and I want everybody to keep the momentum. And but I'm not a gambler. I don't take chances for America. They showed me Pepper in 2016. So anything, I don't put anything. We know who needs to get on their Zoom. Everybody else seems to be on their Zoom. We know who needs to get on their Zoom tomorrow.
Yes, because they turned their back on their girly in 2016. So, I hope people have learned your lesson.
They need to get on their Zoom
tomorrow. And so that's who, because we know their men's. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm waiting to see who she picks for VP. I want a serving of Precedented Times. I don't want any celebrity endorsements. Like F that. The only thing we want from celebrities right now, open your drop your coins and keep it trucking. Like, Beyonce has given the okay to use freedom. Okay, thank you for your service. That's it. We want to hear y'all's opinions. Save it for the group chats. Like, this is not a celebrity campaign. There's a lot at stake here that will not be undone.
Yeah.
Like, it's interesting how JD Vance said the child owning a childless cat lady that she cannot know because she has not had children. And somebody said he has clearly never met Catholics because, Catholics do go to a priest who's not married for marriage counseling. You have the same people trying to ban IVF and make it harder for women to have children. And the same people insulting a woman that she does not have children. Like, bro, what do people want from us?
They want us barefoot and pregnant. And as a childless cat lady myself, there's nobody I trust more than a childless cat lady.
I trust women.
Yes, I do. And they have shown repeatedly around the world. We talked about this in March when we were doing our feminism series, how like we gave the example of different countries handled COVID, and the ones who had the best responses were led by women. So yeah,
Jacinda Ardern can adopt me for all intents and purposes. Please, she can adopt me.
We've had enough of the old white men. And in that same series back in March, I did say that a woman breaking the glass ceiling or being coming to a position that has no woman has ever been in before, that's not necessarily a win. And I do have my disagreements with Kamala and some of her policies, but I'm really excited. I will see if she will listen. You heard it here first. If Kamala Harris wins, I will off my cloth and run naked in the street.
I will hold you to it. I'm excited, and I'm excited because I'm raising a girl and she gets to sit through me and all my election anxiety. Every election, I'd be sitting in this house watching results, getting anxious. And I'm also a poll worker. So she's come with me to see how I'm setting up for election day and some of that process. So she's growing up, she's asking more questions. Like the first rally yesterday was in Milwaukee, and we considered going, but I could not find any information. Because she was like, I can't vote, but I want to go. So I guess we're going to have to find a way to make at least one rally happen for her. And I think my big struggle is trying to explain politics to her at a 5th grade level. Without going in too deep, because I don't know what they will discuss on the playground, and keep it light for the kids. But
yeah, American politics is unnecessarily complicated. Yeah, so I don't even know how I would start to explain to a child.
Politics everywhere.
The whole electoral college, all this and that. Like, anyway, I've seen some takes online talking about, oh, she's a black woman, she doesn't have a chance, and that. And we really need to stop with the pessimism, because it's not doing anything for us at this time. Okay, like when Obama was running, they said the same thing about him. Yeah, a woman has an additional hurdle, but come on, guys.
I think we all started from there on Sunday. A lot of us on Twitter started from, we went like this to now everybody's just like back here and like ready to go. It's funny, but I've been doing a lot of blocking. So any just block I'm not doing. Although block on Apartheid Charlie's Twitter doesn't really mean much. However, that's another person. That man. He said he was going to give 45 million monthly to the campaign. Then yesterday he said he does not believe in cult personalities. They said he's still donating to some super PAC that is supporting the Trump campaign. But I was just like, these audio donations, I thought it was only in Africa, but Appetite Charlie never fails. But I think everybody is like agreeing, don't amplify, there's like obvious dog whistles that are there, and bots who are there trying to, so it's like, just don't even amplify. Like, if you even want to alert people, screenshots and then share so that you're not giving them engagement, because Charlie pays for that now.
They need to deport him. Is he a citizen? I'm sure he's a citizen now
Yes,
at this point.
unfortunately.
They need to revoke his citizenship. That man, he's a menace
to society. Like,
listen, to the world.
He has a breeding fetish. But my problem now with his breeding is these women that are still procreating with him. Why?
Child support now. Your child support to be the millions.
Why? Like, they're just finding out the children are just popping up left, right. A lot of his children have been via IVF, apparently.
He's one of those people who, didn't he say something like women should not be on birth control? He wants everybody to be having babies so that they can go and work in his father's emerald mine.
He's not having the babies naturally. I don't know if naturally is the word. He's not having them this regular. What's the word?
Non-assisted? I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what is the safe term. I know what you mean, though.
The inclusive. Yeah. Like, he's not having the children by natural conception, intercourse and all that such means. Like, he's going the turkey-based route. Even from when he was married. I was talking to somebody, Elon Musk, inside of him is a very insecure teenage boy who now has billions of dollars. Of course. When you watch him, that man is he's so awkward and insecure. It's so obvious when you just watch him. His interviews, I'm like, this is a teenager in a grown man's body with billions of dollars. And like, he's so insecure. A lot of them were not cool. And that's why they promote this incel culture. Because they've been on that, and the only reason people pay attention to them now is because they have some change. I mean, look at Jeff Bezos. All of a sudden, that man is a buff thing. Like, look at, to be honest, I mean, Jeff Bezos is not even as socially awkward as he's like. He has more confidence in himself. Elon Musk, that man is, my goodness, I've never seen a more awkward, insecure person in my life. Like, just his mannerisms when he's speaking. Have you ever watched an interview? I don't know how men admire that man, to be honest. And don't say it's for his technical capability. He's not a tech genius. Maybe he knows where to invest, to put money. I mean, he's not like some super engineer mind. He's not. Men are the biggest groupies, so biggest. That's all there is to that. I wanted to say this before I forget, because you mentioned the RNC. So those who are not familiar, Grindr is a dating app for gay men. And they looked at their data in and around RNC conventions. And in the cities, I think it was last year, and they analyzed it this year too, they have a spike in Grindr subscriptions or activity around the RNC convention. So all of these Republicans who are obviously violently homophobic, these closeted idiots, they go to those conventions, the cities, and they're looking to hook up, and they can tell because it's like, obviously it's peaking in that city around that time. The profiles are anonymous. They even have location data to show like it's around the convention center. Like, you people are mad. Christians, there's something wrong with you people. I swear to God. They said that the bars in like the downtown Milwaukee area, so that to make them uncomfortable, said a lot of the bars were hosting drag shows, so they couldn't come there after. I heard that. They secretly wanted to. Those people they're insane. They hate themselves. That's why they're so homophobic. Because a lot of them are suppressing themselves desires. And anybody who does not look like them. Because somebody said if Jesus had to come back today, Republicans would say he's a communist. Oh, of course. And to be honest, Jesus will not be hanging out with a lot of you Christians. I'm very sorry to tell you. You also have the African evangelicals who are just, but not today. Neither here nor there. So, from the US... going to the abroad. When I think I had just got to the UK when they had their elections. Yeah, you got on election day.
Yeah, and the Labour Party, which is I guess the liberal, the equivalent of the Democrats, right here.
Sort of,
The
kind of, yeah.
I kind of, they won a majority in Parliament, after I believe it's 14 years
14
of
years.
Conservative Party leadership. So the tide definitely changed there. Those idiots that were the ones that basically led Brexit and many other foul things that have happened, in that time. So that was good news. And then it was either that same week or around that time where in France,
We had second round.
yeah, and there was a coalition of left and center, and they won the majority against, what's that stupid woman's name?
Marine
Marine
Le
Le
Pen.
Pen.
You know what is wild? That woman and her father have no shame. They've been losing elections since the 90s. Since the 90s, and they're not backing down. And that's one of those cases where, because I was following all these elections, and I was asked why you've not even solved all your own problems at home. Why are you looking at that? But I said, no, I'm taking my cues from 2016. Brexit happened, and we saw what happened in November. And it's almost like after our own November, we saw what happened with Brazil, Hungary, and all these other places where it seemed like we got all these right wing, authoritarian figures come into power. So I was like, I need to know where the world is at, because I think we, like you said, we live parallel lives, but also kind of somehow affect each other's decisions one way or another. And I was paying attention to it and nail biting, and I need to know what's happening. But Marine Le Pen, and before her, because she took over her father's party, I want to say since the days of maybe even Mitterrand and Jacques Chirac, they've been losing elections. But I mean, A1 for persistence.
Listen. Yeah, so I mean, that was encouraging to see, right? Like,
Yeah.
because in recent years there has been a wave of kind of right-wing majority governments
Everywhere,
around
yeah.
the world. So, man, I hope that means the tide is turning.
Nah, it just means
Hopefully
that
it
we
will
are
reach
going to
America.
we're gonna be fighting. I don't know that the tide is turning, because it feels like in every situation, at least in France, it looked like the polling was like way off, because every poll had them like winning by a landslide, and then ended up not being the case. But for those of you who like to romanticize the south of France, they all voted for the right wingers. Do with that what you want.
Hey,
Yeah. Yeah.
not my Marseille. I was just there.
Go look at their map. That whole area along the Côte d'Azur.
Oh no. What?
So they want your dollars, but don't want y'all little Negroes. But anyways, yeah.
Listen, it seemed, you know what? While I was there, because they have a lot of Arabs, North Africans, and of course Black people. Yeah, yep, it's right there, just across the sea. And I was talking with. We went out to a bar one night. We're talking with this girl from Algeria, and she was telling us about how they're extremely racist towards Arabs. So I could see them definitely voting. The white people there, I could see them definitely voting for Le Pen.
And I don't know what it is about French history, and if they actually teach them their history in schools, because during French colonial rule, it was fashionable. They even had a class of them, like Yves Saint Laurent, for instance, and why you have all of that stuff in Morocco. I think his parents moved to either Morocco or Algeria. A lot of French citizens moved there, and they had a name that they would use for them and their children who were born there. So it was cute and fashionable for some of people to go there. When they have followed people now, since it's all our home now, they've come home with you. Problem. Doesn't French have what they call those in outre département, outre-mer, overseas territories? I mean, we went to Martinique. They checked passport control was in France. You got to Martinique, and there was no passport control, and everything is controlled from France. And yet, if those same people come to your country, now people want to be upset. Isn't not all of us our country?
I'll never forget. I went to Anguilla, which is by Saint Martin. They're the same country, but they're British territory. Yeah, and I remember I was using my British passport, and I showed the man, and he said, "Welcome home."
Yes. we went to a resort in St. Lucia for my cousin's wedding, and the staff at the resort were just so happy and like fascinated, because they said typically all they get is British citizens, white British people who come. There's a daily British Airways flight that comes every day. So typically all they get are these British guests. And so for them to see African guests, Africans and weddings and all the
Mm-hmm.
outfits and just playing extra, it was like they were very, it was, to them it was like something that they were so fascinated, and it was very, I don't know, heartwarming for them to see black people come to the island and enjoy. Because again, when we come into these racial places, there's like the subservience,
Mm-hmm.
and you're serving me, where it was just like, look at people that look like us and they're here also. It was a good thing. But yeah, they come there and somebody's probably telling them welcome home too.
But yeah, when Europeans like open their mouths to complain about African immigrants, they say, "But mad." Like
They're experts now.
we have not done the payback. Like listen, any
They're
African
experts.
that wants
When
to go
they
to
go,
Europe, go there. Use all their benefits. Sign up for every social benefit that you can. Because what do you guys mean? After you have ravaged our continent and your hands are still there.
When they go to Douala, all of them are there. They're experts now. They hang out only in the expert communities.
We too will be experts in your country.
Their country, we are immigrants. See, this is the perfect segue for all of you who like to go on the internet, like, oh my God, he's spoke pigeon. Oh my God, he's eating achu. When you are eating rice and burgers, is anybody clapping for you?
Exactly. When you're speaking French and you're making that your accent.
When we are all eating smelly, stinky cheese that ancestors will be looking at you like we raised you better, has anybody clapped for you because you are eating all these things? So why are we always like just so like impressed by basic nonsense? Oh, you speak pidgin, I speak English every day, I'm code switching, struggling to pronounce this. Has anybody clapped for me? I mean, if you clap for me, you're racist.
You're so well spoken.
Yeah, like, did you learn English? They don't clap for me. Be asking me nonsense like, oh, so did you learn English in America? Because you have no accent.
When I use fork and knife, does anybody clap for me? But you will see a white person eating
with
their hand. You people congratulate them. Congratulate me, I'm using a fork and knife. Get out of here. Anyway, I don't know how we got off on that tangent. But the next topic, this happened recently. Let me just double check the dates. The American police, at this point, they need to classify them as a terrorist group, a hate group, something. They need to be classified. They're a danger to society. For those who are not familiar, Sonia Massey, a woman who lived in Illinois, she called the police because she suspected that there was somebody either trying to break into her home or her car. There was an intruder like attempting to get into her house. She calls the police. 2 of them show up, and I don't watch those body cam footage videos. I did not watch the George Floyd footage. I don't watch those videos because I think it's important that people watch them. It's just not going to be
not me.
Yeah. Anyway, this footage is available online. They come into her home, and from what the synopsis that I've got, this Sean Grayson, who is the officer who eventually kills her, like he was being, extremely rude and aggressive to her. Like she had a pot of boiling water on the stove, and they tell her to turn it off, obviously so that it doesn't burn. And she goes to do that, and there's some exchange that I don't even understand how that exchange led to this Sean Grayson. She said something, and then he's basically told her that he's going to shoot her in the face. She apologizes and kind of drops down, and he shoots her in the face. Execution. I mean, he shoots her in her eye and kills her.
Is hot water. Hot water a thing that you're afraid for your life to shoot somebody?
You have 2 big men inside a house and you're scared. And she was not even, it's not like she was approaching them with the water. I don't understand.
I read somewhere that she said, I rebuke you in Jesus' name. And somebody said, to America strikes again, because again, for those of us who have melanin, I rebuke you is not a threat.
It's not a threat.
Like, imagine if she went.
That's what I don't understand. It's like,
But it's two Americas. Now they're saying he was dishonorably discharged from whichever branch of the armed forces he was in for excessive use of force and some other misconduct, and that somehow he still got employed by 3 different police departments in central Illinois. American police, there's a lot to be said. It is said that when integration happened and KKK had to take off their masks, they took off badges. And if you consider the nepotism that happens in a lot of police departments, it's just long lineage of these kinds of, or people with that kind of background. But I don't think that police training in America is long enough. It's like a couple months.
and screening, the screening, clearly they're doing something very wrong when they're picking these people. And there's a former military to police pipeline where a lot of those people who go to military, the white ones especially, because we know that the people of color are recruited, because for the financial incentive, right? But those white guys who are in the military, a lot of them are white supremacists, and they leave the military and they just to police forces, sheriffs, all of this. And of course, they're prime candidates. They're favored over there. But there's really, I think that their screening process, it needs to just be seriously scrapped. And whatever psychoanalysis they're doing on them is not enough. It's not sufficient.
The training, because I was reading compared to some other country, it's like a couple months here, where some other places is like 3 years. It needs to be 3 years because a pot of boiling water and they gone, bro. Come on now. Come on. And it seems like it was like he was aggressive by, like, that's just, he went in there as the aggressor. He did not turn on his body cam. He only turned it on after, and told his partner not to.
Yes, said something about wasting a medical kit. Are you mad?
On somebody's life.
Oh, that they should not bother wasting a medical kit. And then apparently, like, after she had passed away, he called her a crazy bitch or something. Like, I'm sorry, but I'm not a proponent of the death penalty, but when these guys are found guilty, they need to start, like, proposing the death penalty, because what do you guys mean? Like, at this point, Black people are not safe to call the police. She called the police for help. People came and killed her.
So, like you said, that she's crazy, because I saw somewhere that they said, I don't know if it's true, I did not look, that she was paranoid schizophrenic, which is even worse. We need a number that's not 911, but then again, if the person is schizophrenic and living by themselves, how are they going to make, if they're in full paranoia, how do they make the distinction to say,
we need an alternative to the police, some other community service, because these people, like I said, they're a hate group because they are disproportionately killing Black people. I heard a stat recently where it's a significant amount of people who are killed by police have mental illness. So they're not even equipped to handle people who are experiencing a mental health crisis. What is your function? You people should come and answer what your function is.
There are states and cities that are trying to move from, like, if for maybe families who are with the person and know that it is actively a mental health crisis, to not call 911 and have a different number for them to call. Because more and more the police just come to escalate. They don't de-escalate in a lot of situations.
They don't.
And especially when it's people of color.
Yeah, and I've heard some, like, MT and other emergency medical staff have said this thing before, that whenever the police come on a scene, they, to your point, they escalate. They don't de-escalate. They add to the chaos. They're of no help.
It all goes back to this thing of guns, right? Because in other countries, police don't carry guns. You are there to protect the people, and because the people are not carrying guns, you're not necessarily fearing for your life. It took me a long time to realize what was the difference between police and gendarme in Cameroon. In Cameroon, because police are supposed to be only in the city. They, like, their geographic restrictions, like city, and they are not armed. Gendarme is,
it's like a paramilitary kind of thing, right?
Police, they are armed police. and then they go further outside of the city to like more like in the division or province or whatever. And like in most cities, like you're supposed to be helping, little things, one or two things. You're not going to war. Like, why is it somebody's holding a pot of water? If she wants to throw, you not run. Wait, if it's water, I cannot run.
My God, even if this woman held that pot and said, I'm going to throw this hot water on you, your response would be to shoot? My God, like what kind of training are they training these people? I don't understand. Two big men like that in that house, and you're scared of a pot of boiling water. Step back.
But they're also scared of black boys, so it tracks, right? They should
Yeah,
black
it does.
boys that they look
like something has to be done about this American police. I don't understand.
America needs control alt delete, but Cameroon also needs control alt delete, so we are where we are.
It's control alt delete enough for Cameroon. It's
completely restart now. We're going to factory settings. Well, no, Cameroon needs to restore to factory settings.
Yes.
There's which factory setting are we going back to?
We'll go. That's a very good point.
1960. Yeah,
because I mean, obviously, we don't have well-documented knowledge of pre-colonial, and we can restore factory setting, but those around us cannot, right? So, for example, like we cannot tell Nigeria, we're taking back this. So yeah, we would have to go back to 1960 and just say, okay, we're starting over.
I mean, they said that we should not criticize them on the internet. So if you apply for visa and they don't give you, they have watched this podcast.
Hey, I was not criticizing. The president is doing a swell job.
We thank the head of states.
Those are all the events that I wanted to touch on. I was trying to find some more lighthearted, trending topics on social media, but
I have one, but it's not lighthearted. This is very Cameroon specific or Cameroon specific. Like, if you are Cameroonian and you're on Facebook, you probably know about the Iya Project and Iya Bekondo.
Oh, yes.
And, like, I knew of Iya because we have mutual friends. And so Iya had renal disease, and she had gotten a kidney before from her mother, and then that had failed, and she spent the last 2-3 years looking for a kidney donor. She finally got a kidney transplant, and something must have happened after, and she passed away a few days after. It's a big loss for the community because a lot of what I know about kidney disease and advocacy, I learned from her and her videos. She, like when she could have been down and thinking about herself, she put others first. She did a lot of work to get dialysis machines to the hospital in Boya. So it's a big loss. And so if you come across the GoFundMe they're doing for a funeral, please consider making a donation to help her get a befitting burial, because it's a huge loss. And I hope that even after all this, the Iya Foundation can keep going and continue the work that she started, because she felt it's one of those things where it's like, when looking back, it's like, what did people do before her? Because I'm sure people had renal disease, but it wasn't as well known other than maybe those who knew people. But now we all have some basic understanding.
Yes. And as somebody whose family member, went to that dialysis center in Boya, I can say that she did a lot. She did a lot to raise awareness, like you said, raise funds, get machines to that center. So yeah, it's a huge loss. And if I don't know specifically the GoFundMe that's raising funds for her burial, so people should definitely find that if they want to contribute, but also the iyafoundation.org, if you want to go and make a donation there in her honor, that would be great. But yeah, thanks for bringing that up. That was a huge loss to the Cameroonian community.
Yeah.
Our favorite blog sites, they posted, right? I think I saw on their Instagram.
I hope they did, but I don't.
After I've talked shit about them.
I don't be going there. I can ask the people who frequent.
Yes. Okay. Just a reminder that our July book of the month is Travelers by Elon Habila, and we're going to be reviewing that on our next episode. make sure you are subscribed to our YouTube, Two Bees in a Pod, and on Instagram at Two Bees Pod, and wherever you listen to podcasts. And until next time.
Mbonga biten janga say we go meet up for pot soup. What is mbonga? Mbonga is like a fish. Bonga is fish and janga is dried
Crayfish.
Crayfish.
Yeah.
And so the fish does the crayfish that they're going to mix in the pot of soup.
Yes.
Which means what exactly?
So my interpretation is like telling somebody who maybe thinks that you guys are in different situations, that we're gonna end up in the same the pot of soup, right? For them, it's a bad situation. We're all gonna end up in the same, place in hell. So, I mean, if we want to put it in context, people who vote against their own interests, right? Let's say like a poor white person in America is voting based on their own racist beliefs. They're voting for people who ultimately will not pass policies that favor them. So it's like us, the people of color, are telling them, all of us will end up in that pot of soup, like you don't realize it, but we're all,
okay,
destined for the same bad situation. If you think that you're different from us, then think again. That's an example.
Those who think you're not like them other blacks or not like the other minorities. I mean, it sort of happened at the Republican convention where the J.D. Vance's wife is Indian, or she's the daughter of Indian immigrants, and they were holding signs to her face or there, like, deport everybody or something like that. Like, you can think that you've married into and you're not. When time comes, they're going to send you back to us, sis, but enjoy while you're there.
This is what I'm saying, right? People of color, like whether it's black, Asian, whatever, people of color who are Republicans, particularly that flavor of, right-wing ultra, like, what are y'all thinking? Those people do not like you. At best, you're a token. And the best quote that I've heard is, remember that tokens get used. You'll be used and they'll discard you when you're done.
Remember Herman Cain?
Perfect example. Tokens get used, and he's a perfect example of a token that got used, and they discarded him in his time. Listen, so I don't understand. People of color, women, queer people, like, y'all are out of your minds if you're, we're going to meet up for that pot soup. That's all I have to say. And speaking of women, did Amber Rose wasn't she at that nonsense convention?
Ain't nobody checking for her. I'll be there.
I'm like, I just feel like these black celebrities like Kanye.
She's not black.
Her.
She's not black.
Okay, I'm taking that one personally.
She said so. No,
she's the one who said so. Okay.
She's quadriracial. She's a quadroon.
Quadroon? Oh my God. Listen,
she's quadriracial.
The mixed girlies have to be stopped. I saw that spoken word and I thought it was satire. I said, what is this? Not a quadroon. You know what I'm talking about, right? On TikTok.
Send it to me.
On TikTok, there's this girl who, I guess she's 1/4. She's 1/4 black, and she's doing this spoken word. It is the most unhinged thing I've ever seen. Anyway,
like I said, I just want a serving of
the biracials and the quadroons need to be stopped. You are out of control. But yeah, that was disappointing to see Amber Rose, but I was not surprised. It's just she's looking for attention. A lot of those people don't believe her. What's the other one? Candace Owens. You cannot convince me that Candace Owens. Yes, it's for a check. You cannot convince me that she believes the bullshit that she says. Her specifically. Until next time.
Bye.